Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Wednesday morning, the 1st of January 2025. Happy New Year everyone, and I hope that 2025 will be good to you. Certainly started off being pretty wild here in Lancashire, in northern England. We got lots of flood warnings this morning because of wet weather. It has rained colossally, so if you're in one of the heavily affected zones, then stay safe. It's been wild here, but I'm on quite high ground, so I think I'll be alright. Look, guys, if there's anything wilder than the weather at the moment, it's the Delphi case.
It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
Before an angry Andrew Baldwin left the courthouse, 13 News overheard him speaking to Richard Allen's wife, saying, "It ain't over. The world's watching. The world sees what's going on."
I spent New Year's Eve catching up with Criminality's live streams. So there's been 2 over the last day. So I listened to this last night, and then I've just finished listening to this. I was watching it live for a little while, and then I fell asleep, so I had to go back and catch up. And oh my word, if you want something to kick 2025 off in the way that we intend to go with this year, it's this. So Criminality had several people on her panel, and one of them is Michael Osbrook. Who's Michael Osbrook, Michelle, I hear you say? Well, he's an attorney in Indiana. He goes on panels every now and again. He deals mainly with federal habeas cases, but he's a wealth of knowledge. So he was on the panel, Criminalities, right at the end. Right at the end, he dropped an absolute bomb. And a New Year's Eve bomb. This is crazy to me. So let's talk about just how important this is. This is crazy to me. If this is true, and I've no reason to doubt Michael Osbrook's integrity, I've no reason to doubt Michael Osbrook's truthfulness about this, but if this is true, this is the bomb that is about to explode on the prosecutor of the Delphi case. I'm going to play you a few minutes of this, but this is insane to me. This is crazy to me.
Hesitant to do this, but might as well drop a New Year's Eve bomb.
Who do it?
As of the 27th of October, so that's the day before the initial hearing, Rick Allen had a lawyer.
Say what? I'm glad I was sitting down when I heard that, or else I would have fallen down. Let's backtrack a little. So Rick Allen was taken into custody. Jerry Holman arrested him 26th of October 2022. He was actually formally charged 2 days later on the 28th. In those 2 days that were just a complete sideswipe for Rick Allen's family, it appears that Cassie got him a lawyer, and by the 27th, he had a lawyer, a private attorney. Now, that didn't last very long because I don't think they realised just how expensive attorneys were. But the important thing is that on the 27th of October, so the day after Rick Allen was arrested, he had a lawyer. Why is this important? Well, let's carry on.
And Diener didn't invite them to the party? So they had
Not to that party, and not to the safekeeping party.
So they had a whole ass hearing, but he had counsel, and they made decisions and signed orders without his counsel present.
Well, an initial hearing, so here's the deal. Initial hearings are not so-called critical, are not a critical stage. You can do an initial hearing. So, I mean, normally in initial hearings where counsel gets, appointed, or is referred to the public defender and, somebody shows up later. The fact that he didn't have a lawyer there at the initial hearing on the 28th is possibly not that big a deal.
He was formally charged and he had his initial hearing on the 28th of October. That's not a problem because it's very, very common for a defendant to turn up at an initial hearing without a lawyer. Because if they can't afford a lawyer, that's the time when a lawyer is appointed to them. So that's not the problem. The problem is what comes next.
The safekeeping proceeding, there was no hearing, is a completely different matter.
So we need to stay backtracked a little bit here. Rick Allen was shipped off to Westville, as we know. He was actually held for a few days in White County Jail, so it's arguable as to how much of a problem that is, because the crime happened in Carroll County, so Carroll County should be in charge of his residents. Let's not get too much into the weeds. He was in White County Jail when the safekeeping hearing that wasn't should have been a hearing, should have been a full discussion on this, including Rick and his attorney. But that didn't happen.
So if you can make out that bail hearings are critical stages because what? It affects the conditions of your custody, and it affects the conditions of your custody, and it's kind of adversarial. I don't think, and I've got cases on that. Safekeeping orders are pretty rare, but I think on the analogy of bail hearings, the safekeeping hearing is a critical stage.
No wonder they're messing around about giving this transcript up.
Well, I don't know that they know. I don't know that they know what the issue is. They do now, or will pretty soon. But and not only did Rick have a lawyer, but at least Lesenby and McClelland knew it.
Ooh.
Tobe Lesenby was the sheriff at the time when Rick Allen was arrested. Less than a month later, there was an election and Tony Liggett took over. So the sheriff of Carroll County at the time, Tobe Lesenby, and the prosecuting attorney, Nick McClelland, both knew that Rick Allen had a lawyer. So the safekeeping hearing that should have happened should have included Rick and his attorney. That didn't happen. Why is that important? Well,
if that was a critical stage, the safekeeping proceeding was a critical stage, and Rick didn't have a lawyer at it, it's an instant reversal.
And all they would need to do is have proof that they retained an attorney prior to that.
We've got that, and that the attorney communicated with the sheriff's department and with McClelland.
Oh my God.
So if the safekeeping hearing is a critical stage, which surely it is, where Rick Allen was housed and the state that they got him in Westville, if an appeals court don't see that as a critical stage, as just one of many failings, ship him off to Westville, safekeeping order signed by the judge at the time, Benjamin Diener, who on the same day that he signed the safekeeping order, he recused himself from the case. There's something very, very rotten here in Carroll County.
Michael, who decides that? Who makes that decision? Who would it be? Judge Gold to make that, automatic reversal? Who would have to make that ruling?
Well, I think we're gonna try and get the evidence of it in a motion to correct error. Who knows? Again, it's not up to me. But Gold will deny it, and it'll go to the Court of Appeals.
So for those of you who have been paying particular attention since October of 2022 are going to say, Michelle, though, this is a lie because Rick didn't have an attorney. And indeed, at the beginning of November 2022, Rick wrote a letter pleading that they get him a public defender. In this case listed above, I, Richard M. Allen, throw myself at the mercy of the court. I am begging to be provided with legal assistance, a public defender, or whatever help is available. In my initial hearing on October 28th, I asked to find representation for myself. However, at the time, I had no clue how expensive it would be. So that's a potential problem, isn't it? Because they're going to say, well, Rick didn't believe he had an attorney. But what if Rick didn't know? Because Rick wasn't allowed any visitors, couldn't speak to his wife, couldn't speak to anyone in the outside world. So what if the attorney that Kathy had found sent whatever they needed to send to the sheriff and to the prosecutor, and possibly to Rick, but Rick didn't get it? What if Rick didn't know? What if Rick purposefully was kept in the dark so that they could work on him? And they decided they needed to step up their game, and that's when they sent him to Westville. So Rick, not knowing that he had an attorney, threw himself at the mercy of the court, and thankfully, the two attorneys that he was appointed, Brad Rosie and Andrew Baldwin, were just the best attorneys he could possibly have had. But if they've got proof that he had an attorney, even if it was only for a few days, he had a named attorney on his case, is that an instant reversal? Michael Osbrook thinks so. So this is big. This is huge. So let's see how they try to get out of this one. They'll wriggle, and they'll giggle, and they'll wriggle some more. Let's see what happens next. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.